You are now listening to The Perfect Prana with Kyah Ann. What's poppin'? What's good? You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show. I'm Kyah Ann, your host, a yoga practitioner, instructor, stretch therapist, and I am just a girl who is very blessed to be here with you all today. If you love yoga, this is the perfect place to be, and if you do not love yoga, this is still the perfect place to be because I have a lot in store for you all today between the yoga news, where I talk about what's going on in the world and how it relates to yoga, Yoga Heals, where I bring on a very special guest and speak to them about their practice, and the yoga theme, where I talk concepts and I design asana practices to go along with those concepts. But before we get into all of that, let's center ourselves. Let's take this moment to go inward, to focus on our breath, to focus on our prana. Prana translating to breath, as in the breath of life, our life force, our vital life source. There's our chi. There are so many different translations, but let's just focus on that. So no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, you're laying in the bed, you're driving in the car, you're sitting on the couch, you're walking in the park, take this moment to create a nice line of energy from your tailbone to your crown so breath can effortlessly move through you. And begin to notice your breath without controlling it. Notice how that automatically puts you in the present moment. And gradually begin to make each inhale deeper and each exhale a little longer. And maybe at this point, your exhale is turning into a bit of a whisper. No matter what breath you're on, go ahead, exhale all the air completely. And with me, deep inhale through your nose. Exhale, forcibly sigh it out. Pushing out all the air. Inhale through your nose, filling all the way up, expanding your belly, your rib cage, and holding at the top. And then exhale forcibly once again. Pushing out all the air. Let your breath come back to a steady rhythm. Find something in this moment to express gratitude for. And let's get on with the show. Yoga news: suspect in CEO's killing wasn't insured by United Healthcare company says. Yep, here we are again talking about this topic. I can't get away from it. This is like the big thing in the news, in the media right now, which is crazy. I already talked about how the United Healthcare CEO was assassinated in broad daylight. It was very public. This has started a conversation on social media about how people hate the United States healthcare system, or I'll say the suspect. His name is Luigi. He has a very high approval rate. People love this guy. We're straight up in a time period where we are praising a murderer. I mean, yeah, people think he's very attractive, and again, they hate the healthcare system, so they like the fact that this political statement was made. Even though it cost somebody's life, it still was like it was a political statement, and a lot of people agreed with the political statement. The police said that they found a manifesto from him about his gripes with the healthcare system, and they think that that's why he killed the United Healthcare CEO. I'm a conspiracist, though. That just doesn't make sense to me. There is always more to the story. Who put him up to this? There's no way he just decided to do this on his own and he found out where the guy was gonna be. Like, come on. There's a news story about how he went to a yoga studio in Hawaii, and the owner of the studio met him, and he said that he was a pretty nice guy and that when he would come to yoga classes, he would always have back pain. Why is that relevant? I have no clue. Whenever there's a main consensus or something that's widely agreed upon across media, I always ask why. Who planted this seed? And why do they, the powers that be, why do they want us to think this or have this idea? I don't know. We'll just have to see how everything unfolds. What's done in the dark will always come to light. So if there is something sinister going on or some plan that is going to be rolled out that's going to harm us in the end, Americans will know eventually. And maybe it'll be years from now, but we'll know eventually. Health and medicine has been weaponized against people from a historical standpoint. So to think that that has stopped is ignorant. It's still going on. So whenever there's a discussion about health in the media, there's always more to the story. So again, we'll see how that unfolds. But I am mad at the healthcare system too. I've always been. People pour a lot of money into health insurance and into the system in general, but people's health has been declining over the decades. But I try to have a wide view and be open to multiple ideas. The medical industry has been improving in ways, but in a lot of ways, it's been harmful. And I believe I said this in my last episode, but I'll say it again. I want for all of us to get to a place where we can be healthier and be less dependent on the medical industry and the healthcare system. A lot of the issues people are having are preventable. It's just about education and resources and getting the truth out there about the true way to live, building a society that supports our health, rather than living in a society where we all actively have to heal from. And I'm just talking right now. This is a podcast. What can I really do about anything? Well, everything starts off as an idea. It all starts in our mind, and then we manifest those ideas into reality. It's important to keep thinking and to keep our brains working and imagining what we want our lives to look like. And if we're okay with what our lives look like right now and what has been going on. Next, I am going to talk about some TikTok trends. Have y'all heard about Cooking with Kyah? I posted about this on Instagram because this girl will not get off my feed. Cooking with Kyah, she built a platform on TikTok where she says that she's going to steal people's man, or she's going to say something like, did your girl cook for you? Because if she didn't, I will. And then she shows you her plate, what she has on the plate. It'll be like mac and cheese, or like a baked potato, maybe some steak, maybe some chicken, just, simple stuff like that. And then she'll turn around and dance and do like a small little twerk, and she does this whole song, Cooking with Kyah, oh my gosh. I kept seeing this in my shared notes on Instagram because I hadn't seen any of the videos yet, and I was really confused because my name is Kyah. So I'm like, what is this about? Like, what are people talking about? And I thought it was directed at me, but I'm like, they're spelling my name wrong. The only difference is my name has an H. Her name does not have an H. So I was like, this is like, what? So, I get on TikTok and I look this up and I'm like, what is this? And I see the videos and I'm like, oh my gosh. Why is the internet in a chokehold about this? Girls are really upset about this Cooking with Kyah girl. There's whole think pieces about this content. A lot of people are hating on her. They're saying that she's a pick me. They think that she's bashing women that don't cook for their men. I don't know. I didn't watch too many videos about what people think, but a lot of people are just insecure about it. And they're, she's not going to steal my man. Or there's a lot of men looking at her videos and, they're eating it up. They just love it. They're like, oh, can you cook for me? They're reposting these videos. They're sharing these videos in their group chat. They're just obsessed with this girl. They're super attracted to her. And then you have a lot of women defending her. Like, she's cute. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's her content. It's her choice and this and that. I'm more so on the lines of that. Not that I'm defending her or whatever, but really it's just like, who cares? I guess a lot of people care, but this is like, again, why is this such a big deal? There are a lot of women on the internet that are dancing and wearing revealing clothing, and like, this is not new. I guess the fact that she's doing it with the plate and that she's like, saying that she's gonna take people's man. She's not gonna take anybody's man. Like, there's too many men out there. Like, there's so many men that are seeing this content that will never meet her in real life. It's just not a reality, It's just a way for her to build a brand and get attention, and it's working. She is getting attention. I don't know why it's working, but it's working. Because I'm like, what is so different about this versus like other women on the internet that are dancing and wearing their revealing clothing? I don't know, but maybe it's the jingle that she made, Cooking with Kyah, that's just so catchy. I used to post a lot of cooking videos, and I'm like, that's all I had to do was just say Cooking with Kyah multiple times and dance for to get views like that, But look, that's her choice of content. Personally, I wouldn't do that, but there's a lot of things that I wouldn't do that people do. There's a lot of things that I do that people probably wouldn't do. So look, we're all different. We have to respect each other's differences. My main issue was I was looking at some of the plates she was creating, and I think that they were a little bit imbalanced as far as health and nutrition goes, in my opinion. I think a lot of her meals lacked fiber. Anybody that is cooking for people should be concerned about health and nourishment, but that's not always the case. That's not her mission with her cooking videos. I don't think she really cares how many fruits and veggies she's including and how many fresh herbs, and she's just cooking basic food that she probably enjoys. And anyways, I'm sure this TikTok trend, it's here today, it'll be gone tomorrow. On to the next. The next TikTok trend, thin is back in, but did it ever really leave us? There are a lot of articles about how times are changing. Being skinny is now a trend again. For those of you that live under a rock, body shapes and body sizes are trends. People use their bodies like accessories and they go in and out of season, and there's always a push to be some shape or some size. In the 90s we went through a time period of where being skinny was the big thing. That created a culture of eating disorders, and where there might be some normal sized people that were still like, nope, that's too big. And then there was a time period of the BBL era, which it seems like we're coming out of that, where people were getting their bodies done and being super thick was the thing. Being fat was never really the thing, but there was the body positive movement, and out of that, the fat acceptance movement became a thing, and you had a lot of people advocating for bigger bodies, pushing companies to make bigger clothes, pushing planes to have bigger seats. And the way that body trends are, it's like a pendulum. It's like we go from one extreme to the other. This is actually the first year in a long time that the obesity rate has actually gone down in America. That's crazy. Maybe it is because of the cultural change. And then also weight loss drugs like Ozempic. A lot of people have been on that. Here's the TikTok part. There was this girl, this content creator named Slim Kim, who got on the internet and said that she likes being skinny. It's one of her favorite things about herself, and one of her biggest fears is being overweight. And this had people in an uproar. Another thing on TikTok that caused think pieces. A lot of people were triggered. They thought that she was being a mean girl, and this brought out a lot of insecurities in people. And then of course you have people defending her and people agreeing with her that they like being skinny too. Anyways, I'm saying all this to say is I was watching videos on it, trying to form some type of opinion. How am I going to talk about this on my yoga show? How am I going to spin this? And the honest truth is I got triggered. Not necessarily by the video that she posted, but maybe I was just watching too many reaction videos to it or something. But the truth is, having positive self-image is still a challenge to me to this day. And I know I'm all about yogi and I'm all about wellness, and I promote all this health and stuff, but I still struggle with that. I think there was the last video I saw, he had a whole response to her video and about people being triggered about it, and he said something along the lines like, do you enjoy being in your body? You just gotta enjoy being in your body. And that had me in tears. Like, I had to take a moment to compose myself. I've talked people to death about this topic, and this is something I've been dealing with my entire life, is this discomfort in my body. And it's honestly something I don't pay attention to anymore, or I try not to pay attention to anymore. It's just something that I try to block out, or just like, look, that's just a thing and I'll be okay. Just learn to survive with it. And honestly, I try to fake it till I make it. I try to act like it's not an issue, because I think talking about stuff so much after a certain point is counterproductive. yeah, I know that this is still an issue for me because I'm watching these videos and the fact that it made me cry. I'm like, oh my gosh. So this is still some emotional stuff that I have to unpack with myself and deal with. I'm only 22 and I'm still human. And I'm not sure that this is ever something that will completely be solved. And, all these self-image issues, I see them as systemic issues because it's happening to so many people that there's an issue with the system, that so many people are suffering poor mental health because of body image issues and just overall self-image issues. It's not just me who is going through this. Sometimes I have to remember to lower the expectations for myself. I show up, or at least I try my best to show up to my yoga practice. I try my best to be mindful. I try my best to live modestly and to fast and to pray and to, do all these things to stay well mentally and physically. But I'm not perfect. I don't have the perfect habits and I don't know everything. And life never stops being hard. I just have to try to get stronger to endure. And it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, how many resources you have. That doesn't exempt you from being human and for having emotions and for having challenges, things to overcome. I consider myself a healthy person, but that doesn't mean that I never get sick. So after going through this wave of emotions, I almost was going to just not talk about this at all on my show. And I was like, let me be candid. And it's easy to talk about it now because I've composed myself. Of course, I had to take a few breaths and have a few moments. But I realized that, man, this is a distraction. All these people that are feeling jealous of this girl, because I've gone through jealousy feelings, and not with her, but with other thin people. All these people that are feeling jealous of this girl, or that are feeling bad about themselves, or feeling disgusted with themselves, or sad about who they are, or the body that they're in, and they're having all these issues with that, It's like, this is a distraction from our purpose and what we're supposed to be doing. Mind you, I was trying to plan for this show and I wanted to get everything recorded because, I have to edit. I have things going on in my life. I'm a busy person. And I just had 2 hours stolen from me because I had to have a whole emotional meltdown and crying session about body image issues. Like, this is a distraction from my true purpose. And I'm not saying that I know what my purpose is in life. I don't know. I'm finding different purposes every day or whatever. But I can't even think about what I'm supposed to be doing if I'm being so self-conscious about the fact that my tummy is poking out and I have rolls and this looks terrible. So that was the first conclusion I came to. The second conclusion I came to, this is progress. I know that I had my little crying session and I got in my feelings, and this topic can still hurt me on deep levels. I think I still dealt with it pretty well, considering how I used to deal with things in the past. Because, those negative emotions are never going to go away. There will always be a negative emotion. Emotions are fleeting. Self-image is fleeting. I don't think that self-image is always going to be positive and that I'm always going to feel super confident or just like, ooh, I'm amazing or I'm beautiful or I'm not always going to feel like that. And then I have times where I do feel like that, and I have times where I feel good. And it's great to have times when you feel good and you're being all peaceful and you're just being this amazing person and you're treating people kindly and you're having positive interactions with people. But the real test is what you do when you're going through a hard time or when you're under pressure or when you're facing a challenge. Still to this day, sometimes I have thoughts where I'm like, I wish I would wake up and be thinner, or I wish I could just lose this certain amount of weight. What I really wish for and what I really hope for is contentment. I hope that I can experience joy. And I experience joy. I have a lot of moments where I experience joy, and I love those moments. I cherish those moments. I wish I could have more moments like those. But, most of all, I just wish to be content. Whenever I get this new physical ability, I could do this new cool posture, I get my leg in the air, I do something that I never thought I could do that. I'm currently living a reality that I once dreamed about, where I am a smaller size, and that's something that I used to think about all the time. Like, if only I could just get smaller or just lose this certain amount of weight. And it's like, I did. What I hope for most is whenever I reach whatever goalpost there is that I can experience contentment no matter what, because I would hate to reach a goalpost and still be in the same mindset of I'm disgusted with myself, I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough, I'm not happy with myself. Change is gonna happen. For the better or for the worse. A lot of it's in our control, some of it isn't. And I just hope that I can be content and live life in the present moment no matter what. Because weight is fluctuating, but a lot of other things are fluctuating. People go through serious injuries, get in car accidents, lose limbs, and people go through all these terrible things, but they still have to live with themselves and be okay with themselves and find joy in their lives. And I still have to do that. Yoga Heals. This week's Yoga Heals Mary Lou, who is a yoga studio owner and teacher based in California. I visited the Yoga Nest in Venice when I visited LA, and I absolutely loved the environment, and everybody that I crossed paths with, including her, were absolutely amazing and so kind to me. She has gone through many phases with movement, from classical ballet, aerobics, and now yoga. She could have retired by now and been chilling on the beach and never having to leave her home for work, but she is committed to the Yoga Nest and to offering classes that leave students feeling restored and at ease in their bodies, hearts, and minds. Well, I would like to start by saying thank you so much, Mary Lou, for coming on to the Perfect Prana show. I'm so happy to have you as a guest. The first thing that I ask every single person that comes on this show is their background as far as when they started practicing yoga and why they still practice yoga today.
Yeah, great question. So my background is I've always had some type of movement in my life from being a little girl all the way through adulthood. And then I ended up moving randomly within 3 short blocks of the studio that I began practicing at full time, which is the Yoga Nest Venice. In turn, I ended up being there probably about 8 years before COVID shut it down. And so, with that, I was simultaneously retiring from a corporate career and was just kind of looking to see what was the next best option, seeing as we had nothing to do because we were all locked down. So, I decided that maybe we could reopen the studio. So I reopened the studio. It's about 3.5 years now in the middle of COVID with masks and temperature taking and Vax cards. And it worked, and we're still going strong.
Yeah, so I did, of course, read up a little bit about your bio. And at first, you started off with ballet,
Hmm.
kind of in your childhood, and it said you were classically trained. Can you talk a little bit about the the culture in the ballet world and maybe how it's similar or different to yoga? Because they're both movement practices, but
Right.
I'm sure that it's different. So what is
Yeah.
different?
Well, at the time that I was dancing and dancing professionally, the guidelines were really different than they are today. Everybody, your height requirement was at least 5'9", 5'8", 5'9", and constant weigh-ins and diets. And it's not a really healthy culture back then. Thankfully, I think with the progression of different types of movement and dance styles and accepting every shape, model, kind, we've moved into more of a now ballet takes, the athletic. The color of your skin doesn't matter. And it's not this generic kind of lineup of a bunch of pale ballerinas that are all 5'8" and weigh 100 pounds. Now you've got variety, you've got athleticism, you've got. So the similarity, I would say at this point now, is you really have to be focused and grounded if you're going to get anywhere in any kind of a dance profession. At that time, it wasn't a real, looking back, of course, I was so young in it, you don't realize the mental kind of mind mess that it can do with you, that you're constantly monitoring how you look, what you eat. And whereas yoga now comes from the center internally and works outward, whereas back in the day when I was dancing, and I'm not going to say how many years ago this was, but it was very much of the exterior, you know, the exterior look instead of the value of what you were doing as a performer. How's that?
So, it seems like you kind of entered the yoga world a while back. So, can you talk about how the culture with yoga has changed at all, if it has changed?
Yeah. So the studio that I'm referring to, the Yoga Nest Venice, is very much a one of a kind traditional boutique studio. We're not corporate. We don't have other locations. It's really kind of a walk to neighborhood culture, which thankfully that fits this area. I do know that, especially during COVID, a lot of the trendy types of yoga didn't survive. A lot of the hot yoga places or the corporate yoga franchises that, for whatever reason, they didn't survive. And I have gone to many of those different places. And I guess as an owner, I'm very particular about the training and the quality of the practitioner and what they are going to bring to the community that's unique. Whereas I found in the corporate locations, you go to one location wherever you were, and you could go to another one in a different, because you're on your way back home from wherever. There was no consistency. The quality of the teaching um, was not. I don't want to downgrade what they were doing, but it wasn't. the quality that we have at our studio. How's that for being plain and simple and direct?
So, I mean, what do you think was so special about the Yoga Nest for the fact that it could survive for all of these years?
Yeah, so we had, I mean, the studio's been around um, at least 15 to 20 years with two other owners. And so it's been a kind of mainstay in the community. If you mention it, people within a 3 mile radius absolutely know the space. So I think because it was so driven to be a community type of a studio that people felt comfortable just coming back to it, knowing what, and of course, we reached out, we let people know we were opening again. Different practitioners have been doing, spot classes on the beach, on a park, wherever they could. And so there was still, conversation within the community about when can we do this like back the way we used to in the studio. So reaching out and word of mouth, just getting it out there was pretty much the way we did it.
Yeah, I could definitely tell it was popular when I came home and I told one of my Chicago friends,
Oh, yeah.
and she's actually from LA. She was like, "Yeah, I've been there before." And I'm like, I guess this is the yoga studio of LA, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad that I stumbled into it
Yeah.
because it really does give like a home vibe. It's a very safe feeling and just a very tranquil place to practice, and that's
Mhm.
something that I really do love about the space. And it's like it has the upstairs. It's like you could kind of look out and see the
Yeah.
the LA streets. So I definitely felt this is actually a very unique place. You said that you take your teachers very seriously, like picking out a teacher
Sure.
for your studio. What are some things that you look for in teachers? How do you pick them out?
I think it's the uniqueness of whatever style they're doing is first and foremost. If we have a gap in a particular style that I'm looking for to meet the needs of the community. But if you lined up our teachers in a row, we have so late 20s to 70 in practitioners, male, female, gay, straight, and, not very, very inclusive as far as the community and what we support as a studio. So we're very involved with Network SM, which is launching. They have a group that's LGBTQ in Santa Monica that the studio is supporting to launch, and we've done events with them. We support the local artists and have them show their work without a profit. It's direct to them if they sell one of their items. Yeah, every age, make, model, and kind, nationality. And I'm not going to mention the franchise, but when I would, because at the time when I was in the corporate world, I was traveling between Santa Barbara and Venice. So I would go to one location up there when I was at that office and be down here. And it was like you just dropped into the same generic type of practice being taught almost like a recording, which we were also tired of. So I think that that's when you can look at the bios, and the background of some of these practitioners is so wild and so unique that they bring so much to me as an owner and then to the community that hasn't experienced maybe their type of background. So I think that's where the draw is, that we are not the generic cookie cutter, quote unquote, what you think a yoga instructor should be.
I just love a class where I feel like, yeah, this really deepens my practice or expanded my knowledge. And, it's actually rare that I go to a class where I don't feel like that, like, oh, I just didn't learn anything, or oh, that was just not that great of a class. But,
Right.
that is something that I know when I do go to a class, I really look for, just because it's like, I feel like I know enough there's so much more that I need to know and that I will know and learn and all that stuff. But right now, it's like I could literally just roll out my mat at home
Sure.
and just practice by myself. So when I'm stepping outside of my doorstep, I'm in
Yeah.
search and I'm really looking to learn something new and to deepen my practice and like take what I know to another level.
Hmm.
And that's something I really felt that, wow, both the classes that I attended at your studio, I
Yes.
was like, oh my gosh, like this is something so new and different to me. And like,
Hmm.
I definitely want to keep experiencing that. I do want to talk a little bit about transitioning from corporate, which is stable.
Is it
in,
really?
I
Is it?
mean, is
I
it
mean, let's be
really?
honest. Yeah.
We think of it as stable. Like, yep, you have a 9 to 5 job. You know that this is the income that you're going to
Yep.
get. And there's really no questions about it, to being a business owner, which is considered unstable. And you don't know what's going to happen. You
Yeah.
might go through time periods of droughts. Could you talk a little bit about that transition?
Yeah, sure. My family had a history in the insurance business. And I kind of pushed and said, oh, no, 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 I'm not interested. But eventually it worked out to be the right choice in order to provide the lifestyle that I was hoping to achieve. So it wasn't like I grew up going, gosh, I can't wait to be an insurance agent. Who does that? Right? Give me a pencil protector or a pen protector and, a briefcase. No, I went into it quite a bit later in life and figured that until you tell me no for a valid reason, I will keep reaching out and touching and connecting. And so, whether you look at what you're offering, is basically what you're selling. If you want to look at it from a yoga studio, too, what you're offering is what's bringing people there. Do I know in the insurance business, and I had 3 offices and I did gratefully very, very well, that all you're doing is selling the service. There's an insurance office on every corner. It's a dime a dozen, but you're selling what you can bring them to the table to hopefully in that world be in their, emergency call list on their phone, that they'll ask you for a favorite restaurant. They'll ask you about what should I do for my grandson that just got born. You become part of their network. The goal is the same thing if you think about it with a yoga studio. You're providing something that fills a space that somebody wants to grow, benefit, and needs. So it's kind of the same concept. When I did retire, thinking, oh, traveling the world, can't wait. And everything kind of went, guess what? Joke's on you. And I went, oh, no, it's not. Help. And so from there, it was a lot of videos and all that kind of stuff. And then finally, with the turnaround, I think my strongest suit, and I'm finding right now as well with the studio, is I would base my success in the insurance business. And what I'm finding now, because it's really working, is connecting to people. You have this, and somebody over here has this. You two need to talk, because if you two talk and get together, something's going to happen. I have done that throughout my insurance career. I'm doing it now to where I think the theory that I've always had, if you fill the bucket and you keep filling it, it will eventually overflow, period. You fill it with good, you fill it with intention, you fill it with manifesting, and all, it will overflow. And so I'm not selling car insurance or life insurance, but we are all kind of in a, this is what I offer. Does it, is it something that you want to participate in? It could be a friendship, it could be a marriage, it could be a work relationship, it could be your yoga studio. What do you need to fill your cup?
Wow, you just brought up a few questions and points for me. And, connection is so important, especially in this day and age. It seems like something that we're so abundant in because we have the internet, we have social
Sure.
media. So it's like, yeah, we can virtually connect and like we are virtually connecting now. But there are a lot of people that feel that they experience barriers with connections. And I've actually gone through this myself. It's like, just I just want to connect with people, but it's something that I find so hard to do. Have
Mhm.
you ever experienced barriers with connection? How do you overcome those barriers to connection?
No, I absolutely hear what you're saying because I too, it's like you've got to put away the self doubt and figure, like I said in the beginning, unless you really tell me a good reason, no, I'm going to keep connecting with you because I think there's something there that we could provide for each other. If people went into Jesus, if everybody just kind of did that, it could be this great puzzle maze of people connecting and linking these great opportunities to people that wouldn't even have thought about it. So I may be kind of rambling on that, but I know that, I mean, Christina Bant, who obviously you met when you came to the studio, she walked in, I guess it's been 2 years ago at least. And to see somebody that, perfect example, to see somebody that is offered to have a space to grow and show what they can provide, she's one of my top instructors now. So you kind of give the space for them to grow, and some teachers don't. That's your choice too. So I think it's besides making and connecting, you can't be afraid of the rejection because what if you don't make the connection and that could have been exploding into something that is something you hadn't even thought about. That fear, you got to think of the silly things like, I mean, it's a lot to go into a room and not know anybody. That is not my comfort zone, but do I want to figure out who I can connect with and then expand from there? Absolutely. If I said I was going to do it, I was going to do it. So it's realizing that maybe you have something and not be fearful of what you offer. If they say they don't want it, they don't want it. Worst case scenario, like, oh well, and next. You got to get through typical sales, got to get through all the no's to get to the yeses because eventually you will find all the yeses.
Definitely. I was having a discussion with somebody about this a while back and just kind of coming to the realization that all successful people are good at sales. And they were like,
It
yeah.
is.
And all people that are good at sales, they're just really good at making connections. And really, at the root of that is just getting through the self doubt and being like,
Mhm.
hey, put yourself out there. I'm
Mhm.
doing this. I would like to
Yeah.
connect with you. I would like to you to be a part of this and so on. And there's a lot of great things that are born out of that. What I wanted to ask you next is you basically started a whole new career for yourself after retirement. Do
Okay.
you so as a studio owner, do you think you ever plan to retire from this?
No, no. Mm-mm. Yoga is something that you can really truly do till your last breath in the simplest of forms and in the most, dynamic forms from the simplicity of because breath work and meditation and all of that is and chanting is all a part that kind of builds up to this wonderful mountain of what yoga can be for an individual. So I do a lot of breath work. Well, I do breath work teaching 3 times a week for a couple of corporations because they realize in their wellness and fitness goals for for their employees that giving them some type of stress release, giving them, a half hour to not have to worry about the next thing that has to be finished. They're finding that productivity increases and longevity and happiness in the workplace. I mean, when you go in some place, you can totally tell who's cool with being there and the other one who's watching the clock to get to lunch. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's more about I mean, I could have done sales till the day, the last day, but this is giving me an opportunity to not only work on my personal journey as a yogi, but also what else can I provide that's different and unique with this group of 25 practitioners, whether it be in studio, out of studio events, supporting a local group. Another one that we support is a local community garden. That is the fun stuff. So if I end up, I have longevity on my side, so I'm going to be here for a very long time. If it winds down to be more of an owner slash whatever I'm capable to do as I get older, we'll see. But I have no intention of anytime soon. God, no. No, 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 no. No.
Yes. Funny enough, you never really left health insurance. You're basically still offering that, just
Exactly. Here we go again.
just in a different form.
I know. I can't
Uh,
get away from it. No, it's not true.
So I've been doing this with every guest for the season, where I
Mhm.
wrote down the yamas and the niyamas, and then I pick at random for my guests to speak about, whether it's something that they struggle with, whether it's something that they feel like they're overcoming, or kind of how they interpret that, or how they practice the specific yama or niyama in their life, or
Mhm.
how they will practice it. So what I have here: Brahmacharya, the right use of energy.
Mhm.
There's a few different translations for this, and this is actually a bit of a controversial one. And I've spoke about it a little bit on my show, but some people say that it translates to the right use of energy. Some people say it translates to celibacy or abstinence. And then, the root is submission to Brahman, or like living like Brahman, which is God
Yeah.
in yoga, how you interpret it.
Yeah. I think it's a day to day venture. Some days are a lot clearer and you can see where your purpose is. And then, I mean, we're human. You wake up other days and you're looking for guidance instead of being the guide. So I think it's a matter of turning inward and really being in tune with regulating how you're feeling on a particular day or time of day, so that you become that's something that has been an ongoing process, because in the world of my former career and sales, you're never done. There is always more. You always have another goal, something else to finish, to where it became, because I am a go-getter, I guess you would say, that Sundays were basically gone because of the getting ready for and what needs to be done in the week ahead. The in the moment mentality, for sure. The being present mentality, the deep breathing, grounding mentality, that has been my biggest lesson, my biggest transition, because I've been told, or so it's been said, that I work at a pretty high speed, and everybody doesn't do that. A lot of people don't. It's a matter of regulating yourself to read the room and not assume, in whatever situation you're in, not assuming that people are running at the same pace you are, to be able to adapt and open yourself up to the need of the person or people you're with, so that you can feed back and forth. Because if you're which was part of my success in sales, is not going to be my success personally or with the studio, because it's just not like that. It's an internal journey that you are gathering community to go on at their pace. So my slowing down for this rapid lifestyle that I've lived for so long, that rapid pace doesn't work. I can't, and I can slip into it, and I have to regulate myself and, like, knock it off. You don't need to go there. And just to bring it back to the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now, because I mean, the truth is, it's a definite need. It's not that I'm not doing this because it's a new business and I want to make money. Absolutely not. Not even if it makes a dime, great. When it does, great. That's not why I'm doing it. It's to see what we can do as a community to make a difference, period. Like I said, Network SM, a lot of work with LGBTQ, Community Garden is Eastwind Garden we're supporting. So that's where I want to make a difference.
Definitely. And you brought up a great point is that like you could be running with others in a symbolic sense, even in a physical sense.
Hmm.
And there is
Hmm.
kind of about a meeting in the middle because
Hmm.
not everybody's going to be running at the same
No.
pace. Everybody has different backgrounds and
Mhm.
reasons for the pace that they need to maintain for their own health and their
Sure.
own balance. How do you, or how would you say that you maintain balance these days? I mean, because you
Yeah.
never stopped working, which is good.
Yeah, I know.
um,
I'm like, wait a minute, what's retirement? Oh, that? No, not happening. Um, I will tell you that I have really, really learned to stop and rest. And that is a big deal because I mean, I literally, if it ends up being a nap, I would say at least 5 days a week, take an hour. It could be in the darkness in my bedroom, snuggled up, depending on the weather. It could be, outside in the sunshine. I take an hour where it is just most likely me and my dogs, or reading, a favorite book that I'm a huge reader, a book that I'm into. So that's where what I've learned to do to regulate myself because kind of like the energizer bunny, you get up and you hit it and then all of a sudden you hit the block wall at about 3:30 in the afternoon. You're like, I can't move. I need to stop. And instead of the caffeine, which would have been back in my insurance days, let's go get a Red Bull, we got 3 more hours. Now I listen. Now I really listen because I want this vessel to last a very long time. I want to go through this journey with as much of my faculties, physical and mental, as I can take through this because I don't see any reason not to. I mean, God forbid, poo poo, something tragic happens. But I mean, I walk 2 blocks. I mean, it couldn't be a better scenario. It's actually kind of funny that I ended up wanting to be living where I am. I used to see it from a distance. And with my realtor, that I lost a couple of properties back when I was trying to buy down here, bought this place sight unseen, end up getting introduced to a studio 2 blocks away, and then end up being in this world now. It's wild. Wild. Oh, but do you ever think about like in your own life, like if somebody said to you, oh, by the way, in 2024, you'll be heading up a very successful podcast and it'll be going in, you know what I mean? Like, who you just don't know how the pages are going to open and unfold and what chapter you're going to go into. It is wild, wild and exciting. You know what I mean?
Divine timing, as they
Jesus,
say.
for
And I
sure.
definitely think that everybody, or maybe not everybody, but a lot of us can definitely feel when we are in alignment or we
Oh,
are on the right path. And this is what I'm
huge.
supposed to be doing. This is the place that I'm supposed to be. And it's amazing that you kind of got to experience that because you're like, I just bought this place. And then it was right next to the yoga studio,
Yeah,
and this is the place that I want to be with for the rest of my life. It's really like everything was perfectly placed there for you.
yeah.
What I wanted to ask you next, it's really nice to have the freedom to take rest throughout the day.
Hmm.
What do you say to people
I
that
can't.
feel that they don't have
Yeah.
the freedom throughout the
Yeah.
day to rest and preserve their energy
Yeah.
and to maintain balance that they need?
Yeah. I would highly recommend. And, a time in my life was like that where I was, there was no stopping. A totally different time in my life where, food on the table was kind of like the main goal for the day. So, I've lived a lot of different lives, but when you're caught like that, if you truly, I mean, honestly, you have to have lunch sometime during the day you're going to eat. If you can incorporate some breath work, simple breath work, or a comfortable mantra that you create for yourself to lift yourself up. I've had one for years that I made up 20 years ago. And I don't know. I mean, I am, I can, I shall, I will, it is, we are, I know. Don't even ask me where I came up from. And I used to put myself to sleep with that. I am, I can, I shall, I will, it is, we are, I know. This is before I mean, this is a long time ago. And just taking, a lot of us, if you're in LA, of course, you're going all over the country, but if you're in a traffic city, we're in our cars, take that time in the car to listen to some meditation. There's meditation for listening in the car or while you're on the train or in the subway to regulate and calm you down. And then it becomes a habit and then you crave it. You know what I mean? So what do they say? 21 days to make a habit. If you can consistently give yourself 5 minutes, cool. 10 minutes, cool. Listen to meditation before you go to bed. Something that will bring you back to your center and will physically eliminate physical stress because, hate to tell you, that's what's going to kill you. Stress manifests, the body tells a score. Taking care of whatever that is and getting it out of the body, I am 100% a believer in that. I've been there where you're just like, how am I going to get through this day? And if you can just breathe, whatever that is for you, breathe, pray, you know, walk, whatever. I mean, give yourself 5 minutes twice a day as a goal. Huge gift. Huge. It's a long time. If you look at a clock and do breath work on your own by yourself for 5 minutes, you're going to be peeking at the clock until it becomes a habit. You know, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah. And you definitely brought up a great point just about after the habit, it's a craving. And that's the
Hmm.
best place to be in life where it's
Yeah.
like, wow, my body craves
I
this
need, yeah.
breath.
I
My
have to. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
becomes non-negotiable, and it just makes
Correct.
everything feel so much easier because, I've definitely gone through time periods in my life where, like, I want to be doing this, I should be doing this, I
Huh?
should be working out, I should be eating this.
Uh-huh.
And it just felt so hard and impossible.
So
But
much.
the
Big.
reason why it feels easy now is just like, this is something I crave. This is second nature. This
You
is
don't
who
even
I
think about
am.
it. Yeah, you don't even, it just is. You know what I mean? Which is such a great transition. And it's consistency. And, at first you want to fight it because there's always even in yoga, the body knows an easier way out of a pose. But for you to correctly execute that pose, you need to do boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? So you can be in warrior two one way, the easy way, or you can be in the powerful, lengthening, bold warrior two. Big difference. Big, big difference. So it's a matter of pulling that strength internally as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you get used to doing it the powerful lengthening way, and then you
Yeah.
try to do it the easy way,
Yeah.
the so-called easy way
Right.
again in the future, it'll feel like, ugh, this feels
Yeah.
weird and
No,
not
this is
right.
wrong. What's wrong? No, 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 no. We're not going there. Yeah, exactly. That's so true. Yeah. And
Um,
with what you give your body, I mean, your water intake, your food intake, your proteins, all that. all of that stuff, if you can kind of calculate how your body works, what it needs, and add some rest, you can manage the rest of the blank BS, easier if you have these tools to go to. So if you're schlepping whatever you're doing job wise, that is not your dream job, but it's, providing you your home and food, then bring something else into it to make it more palatable. Yeah,
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Mary Lou, for just having this discussion with me.
absolutely. You're
Um,
adorable.
thank you. So what I ask my guests before we leave is just to lead through a quick pranayama of your choice, a few breaths.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I've been doing this week, I've been doing 5-7-8. So, the pull in for 5, the hold for 5, the exhale for 5, 2 rounds of 5. And then you notice how the lungs, as you do this, start to crave. And so then we go to 7s and then we go to 8. Sit tall, anchor your hips down on the earth, lift your shoulders up, back, and down, slide them down the back, get your head up. And imagine that string out the top of your head so that your spine is in line and that your chest is open, your heart is glowing, your shoulders are relaxed, your hands are comfortable. And so we're going to fully exhale and then I'll start the count. So exhale everything where you are. Pull it in for a slow 5. Hold at the top. Open exhale. Pull in for 7. Hold at the top. Open, surrender. Big one. Pull in for 8. Hold at the top. Now exhale as long as you possibly can. Oh, nice. Take
That
that
is
through your day.
Thank you so much. That is all it
Absolutely.
takes is a
Anytime.
few breaths.
Absolutely. Anytime. And look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mary Lou.
Okay, honey.
With that being said, namaste.
Absolutely. Namaste. Go enjoy that wonderful city that you're in.
You're listening to the Perfect Prana Show. If you would like to connect with Mary, check the show notes for the Yoga Nest website as well as her Instagram. If you would like to connect with me, follow me on Instagram at consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah. Yoga theme. Last week's yoga theme was expansion, space. The video will be going up soon. Be on the lookout on my YouTube channel at Consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah. And of course, be patient. I've been working the hardest that I can work today. This week's yoga theme is looking back. Asana practices, of course, are about postures and movements, but I never want to move back. And yeah, we may move back in a physical sense at times, but in the symbolic sense, in life, I never want to move back in life. I want to keep moving forward. Always. Maybe keep elevating, moving up. Moving back, no, that's not something that I necessarily want to do in life. And I'm saying that the theme is looking back, of course, because it's good to look back and to reflect. I just did it earlier in the yoga news reflected on how I used to cope in rough times and how I used to face my challenges. And I never want to revisit some of those things. I never want to fall to those habits ever again. I want to bury certain versions of myself. Like, that's not who I am anymore. And of course, I'll always be honest. And yeah, I did that once, and this is how I used to deal with stuff. But I don't want to move forward like that anymore. So it's nice to look back and reflect on how far you have come, even if it feels like it's just a little bit or it was just a small step. You gotta take the first step to finish the marathon. It starts with the first step. So, and relatively speaking, the time period I'm referring to was only 4 years ago. Just a short time. I've only been coming into this newer version of myself for 4 years. That's less than half of a decade. And I have a lot of life ahead of me. So, appreciate the small wins, reflect and look back and think about how you've changed and how you've grown and how you're just a little bit better today and how you're going to get just a little bit better tomorrow. And it is the time period to do that because it's the end of the year, it's December, and next month will be a new year. It'll be 2025, so it's the reflection time period. Everybody's making their New Year's resolutions. And I won't be putting out a new show till the new year. I'm going on vacation and I'll come back in January and I will continue season 4 until we reach episode 11 because that's my lucky number. Either way, I will be sharing an asana practice that helps us to look back. And there will probably be some back bends included. And we might have a chance to look back in a physical sense. With that being said, thank you so much if you've made it this far. The light and darkness in me bows to the light and darkness in you. Namaste.